I'm so sorry. Instead of welcoming you back to the channel today or having a lovely little intro, I'm just hitting you with a straight up apology. I'm so sorry that you clicked on this video. I'm so sorry that this video exists, and I'm so sorry for what you're about to hear. Before we start this discussion, I'm just going to add an extremely strong warning here. This video is probably going to be immediately age restricted, but in case it isn't, I cannot stress enough that this video contains extremely sensitive, not safe for work topics. If you are under the age of 18, you should not be watching this video. Please click off of it. If you are over the age of 18, it still might be extremely uncomfortable for you to listen to what I'm about to say. So I'm just going to add a warning that there are mentions of sexual abuse regarding animals in this video. It's going to be extremely sexual topics, discussions of fetishes and objects that are used for pleasure in certain cases. So if you're uncomfortable with that, please go watch one of my other videos where you can celebrate the downfall of a horrible company that doesn't include animal exploitation. With that being said, I am once again sorry for what you're about to hear. If you have existed on the internet for more than 5 minutes, you are probably extremely aware of the concept of furries. But for those who aren't, the furry community is a bunch of people who are interested in anthropomorphism, which is animal characters that have human characteristics. So that might be Pokemon or Five Nights at Freddy's or Zootopia. Just think any type of animal that can walk, it can talk, it can express itself as if it were a human being. Now, people within the furry community, they are amazing artists. They make music. They make elaborate fursuits. They make amazing cosplays. They make animation. I myself am an outsider to the furry community. I don't know anything about what goes on in this community. I'm not a part of it. I don't participate in any sort of like anthropomorphic art or anything like that, but I do appreciate it as a creative community. I don't know why anybody would ever be a furry. I don't know why anybody would ever spend money on a fursuit. Jesus. It is a huge, lovely, amazing, loving community that includes children. The furry fandom is extremely welcoming of children. People who are underage, people who are literally 5 years old. It doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how tall you are, it doesn't matter how smart you are. Whoever you are on this earth, you are welcome in the furry community, and they will love you, they will support you, and they will protect you. This is an extremely important distinction when it comes to later in this video. So we have this loving community that is welcoming of children. A lot of people on this earth spread and support and try to prove theories and stereotypes about the furry community. There is a horrible stereotype that implies that they are sexual deviants, that they are interested in animals in a more than friendly way, and that they have a fetish for literal dogs. It is an extremely important distinction to make that furries are in no way connected to zoophilia or sexual interests in animals. It is a community, a fandom with children in it who just like characters who have fur, who just like Pikachu. They just like Freddy Fazbear. There's nothing freaky about it, and anything freaky is entirely separate. Just how if you are goth or if you are emo, that does not mean you have a fetish for related subcultures such as BDSM, that sort of thing. Sometimes people do freaky things in their fursuits. Sometimes people draw freaky art. That's completely okay, and it is completely separate to the community as a whole. Midwest FurFest is the largest furry convention in the world. Every year around December, tens of thousands of people show up to celebrate their community. They celebrate art, they celebrate cosplay, they celebrate their fursuits, they sell, they buy, they trade. There are vendors at this event. And for 15 years at this event, a vendor named Exotic Erotics has been selling and displaying their products. Midwest FurFest is an all ages event with a main hub for all of the vendors, all of the fun, all of the events to take place, and then there are separate adult sections that are extremely restricted. Children have no access to them, and there are very strict rules for the products that are being sold in these spaces. Just as a cosplay or Comic-Con convention may have a section for suggestive materials, comics that might be a little bit freaky and spicy, art that might be spicy, body pillows, that kind of thing. Every convention has a separate section that only adults have access to. This is not a problem. There are rules for this area. The items that are being sold cannot be displayed in a very obvious, glaring sexual matter. They don't have sex toys sitting on the shelf right in front of your face. They're not hitting you with body pillows. They're not throwing lingerie at you. There are just certain areas where you can have a look and ask for certain items if you're interested. Children cannot walk in there. Children cannot see it. It is fully for adults. Where does this become a problem? It becomes a problem when a certain vendor named Exotic Erotics starts selling and displaying their products. In the simplest and safest way possible to explain, the products sold by this vendor are toys. They are toys that are designed to go inside the human body. This is extremely common. The furry community has very weird and interesting objects for this purpose. You might have tentacles, you might have a dragon, you might have crazy fantasy toys, right? This isn't weird. This isn't anything different. Most adults are aware that it exists and they're probably just not interested, but it's there for the people who want it. Exotic erotics are not fantasy toys. They are costed from real animals, meaning real dogs, real horses. They are named and described after the animals that they are costed from. And costing in this context, if I'm describing it in a YouTube-friendly way, means that these animals are aroused by a human being. They place a certain body part in a mold. They cost the size and the shape of the certain body part, and then they make toys that are the shape and size of that body part. This is borderline in a legal sense. It's not illegal to do this, as they explain it as biological research. The animals that are used for this process are familiar with this type of handling. They are explained to be breeding animals. So as a vet nurse, I'm very familiar with the breeding of dogs. These dogs are very used to being handled in a certain way. They are not uncomfortable or scared of somebody touching these parts, somebody harvesting certain fluids from them, that kind of thing. However, that's not what they're doing. They're not breeding these dogs. They're not touching these dogs in a medical sense. It's not an examination. It doesn't benefit the animal in any way whatsoever. They're advertising these toys with descriptions and names of the animals that have been molested to collect the cost, the shape for this object, which just made a lot of people extremely uncomfortable. An example of this on their website is a description of a toy that is costed from a real dog. They say, Bartleby is Exotic Erotics' first live cost dog toy, meaning it was cost from a real dog. They put an exclamation point as if that's like, wow, guys, this is cost from a real dog. This model is cost from a Great Pyrenees, but with a comfortable 2.25-inch knot. A good choice for beginners with plenty of space behind the knot that you can spend some time with Bartleby comfortably tucked away inside you. In 2022, we replaced the hand-sculpted base with a 3D printed base to match our other life-cost canines, but otherwise it's the same old Bartleby that you all know and love. They are extremely excited to tell you about the animal that this was taken from and describing his junk as if it's a fun little fantasy toy. Something important to note at the end of that description is the mention of 3D models. So within the last decade, they have switched from the physical molding process where they are touching and fondling the animals, casting their parts, and they have switched to a 3D modeling process where still the animal is present, they are arousing the animal, and then they are taking scans of the animal's body part to create a 3D image on a computer and then print that out with 3D printing to create the mold. This is not better. I don't think we need to argue if it's good that the animals are being touched a little bit less, or it's good that they're not physically costing it and they're just computer costing it. I don't think there's an argument to make here that it is better. I think both of these processes are extremely disgusting, and there is no need for it to exist. You can create a fantasy toy that somewhat suggests and looks slightly like a dog. There's no need to bring in a real dog. There's no need to touch it. There's no need to mold it. And there's no need to sell it with a description that describes the dog that it came from. Attendees of this convention originally started complaining years ago over a decade ago that this company was making them extremely uncomfortable. The items that they had on display, the items that they were selling, their item descriptions, the whole process and everything surrounding why these items exist was making people disgusted. It was extremely uncomfortable and it should not exist in this space. Not because it's adult content, not because it's a little bit freaky and weird, not because people have fetishes and we don't like them, but because animals are being exploited. There's absolutely no need to exploit an animal. I don't care if people think it's weird to have a fantasy toy that looks somewhat like a dragon, or it looks somewhat like an imaginary centaur that is somewhat slightly suggestive of being a horse. I don't care that those things exist. I don't care that somebody might be into them. That's cool. It's not a real thing. It doesn't exist. It's not hurting anyone. No animals are being touched. You can make a fantasy toy that looks like a dog. You can make a fantasy toy that looks like a horse. There's absolutely no need to physically bring in a horse, touch it, feel it up, jerk it off, cost its parts, sell those parts, and then describe the horse so people can think about it. People can imagine the horse while they're jerking off. There is so many things wrong with this process, and I am baffled that it's legal. Obviously, attendees started complaining. They sent emails. They called Midwest FurFest. They contacted them on social media. They tweeted at them. They made TikTok videos. Nothing happened for years. In 2025, this has kind of blown up on a level that it has never existed at before. With the rise of TikTok, people have been making videos mentioning this, and it is going viral. There are hundreds and thousands of people who now know about this. I didn't even know that Midwest FurFest existed. My first introduction to it existing was a video explaining these products, how they are made, and why we should be complaining.
No, I was serious. They are actually selling adult toys made from real animals. A real animal like that. So if you haven't heard, MFF is allowing a vendor that sells live casts of real animals to sell at their convention. This means that they use real dogs, real horses, real animals to make silicone molds of those animals' parts.
So obviously, people start contacting them. And you know what happens? They get blocked. Midwest FurFest turned off their replies on Twitter. Any case that was open through their support system or their emails was immediately closed. Anyone who mentions this vendor, even if it's positive, if the name is just mentioned, they are blocked. They're blocked on Twitter. They're blocked on every other social media platform. You just can't mention it. Midwest FurFest is happening this week. This vendor has been vending at this convention for 15 years. Nothing could change the mind of the organizers of Midwest FurFest. They did not care. They're making money. They don't care. Exotic Erotics is making money. They don't care. Not only are their products an issue ethically, but the fact that they just exist at the convention is also a huge issue because it reinforces these stereotypes that aren't true in the slightest. The furry community does not revolve around this content. The furry community is not interested in real dogs. In a convention that contains tens of thousands of people, there might be like 10 people who are interested in buying these products. And it might be because they don't even know the origins of the product. In a room full of 20,000 not furries, there's probably going to be somebody interested in this product. But that does not mean that the furry community as a whole revolves around or includes or accepts this type of content and this type of behavior. When this is shared on the internet and they are proudly bragging about their vendors selling these items, it adds fuel to the fire of people who assume that furries are sexual deviants, people who assume that furries are pedophiles, people who assume that furries are animal abusers, which doesn't exist. But if you're allowing a vendor to sell at your convention, that is selling items that are pretty much confirming a theory hundreds of thousands of people have that isn't true, it's hurting all of the other vendors. It's hurting all of the attendees. It's hurting everybody in that space. Imagine being a vendor who's literally just selling their not safe for work art. You are an artist, you're extremely proud of your art, and it's a little bit not safe for work. Other vendors are there selling their not safe for work content that's literally just like a drawing of Freddy Fazbear kissing Foxy. Like, just fun community furry stuff that doesn't hurt anyone. It doesn't involve real animals. Maybe there's like a body pillow of like Pikachu. It's weird. It's uncomfortable. Somebody's into it. That's cool. Who is it hurting? Nobody. So these people are existing alongside, probably right next to, a vendor that is actively abusing animals. And if you're not an animal abuser, you don't support any of this stuff, you're still included and partnered and advertised with a vendor that literally molests dogs. Even if you are not a furry and you are not interested in boycotting Midwest FurFest, there is still things that I believe you can do to help get rid of this company as a whole. I don't think it should exist. If they continue making these products, I don't think they have a right to even exist. I believe if they don't stop using costs, even the 3D ones, it doesn't matter. If they don't stop involving actual, real, legitimate animals in their products, they should not exist. They should be canceled off the earth. I don't care. I don't believe in cancel culture until it comes to animal abuse. I started planning, recording, and scripting this video days ago. I had this idea in my head for weeks, but as of making this video, literally 2 days ago, Midwest FurFest themselves put out a statement. Everybody was shocked. They had been ignoring and blocking people for years, but they finally kicked out Exotic Erotics from the convention. They are no longer a vendor, and they posted this. We appreciate your patience as we've worked through the concerns raised about one of our vendors. Social media moves fast, but responsible action, especially when outside counsel is needed, takes more time, and often the details are more complicated than what's visible from the outside. Although we can't comment on ongoing legal matters, we can share that Exotic Erotics will not be attending the convention this year. At the conclusion of 2025, we will be revisiting dealer processes, and we encourage everyone to uplift and support vendors who reflect what you want this community to be. So, part of the problem has been solved. They are no longer vending at Midwest FurFest, but they still exist. Take this with a grain of salt, but I believe that the best course of action when it comes to this company is contacting animal protective services, whether that be humane societies, animal control, if you have an RSPCA, SPCA, that kind of animal protection organization in your area, send them an email, flick them a complaint, open a case with them. Doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what connections you have. If you reach out and spread awareness to somebody who has power, has the ability to investigate, I truly believe that this company could stop existing. If a single person with power is able to investigate what is going on here, and they're able to understand the situation and that it is not beneficial to the animals, there is no biological, there is no medical benefit to this process, they should be able to take action. I think the problem here is a lack of awareness. People know that this is happening. A few people know that this is happening, but nobody important, nobody with power, nobody that cares about animals has actually truly looked into the process and understood that it is exploitative. So reach out, keep sending emails, spread awareness. I believe it's still extremely important to be talking about this company, to be tweeting about them, to be making videos about them, because clearly somebody's buying their products. They would not be making these products if there was not an audience for it. So we can tell people that it exists and not to buy from it. If nobody is buying these products, they will have no need to make them. They will not sell them. There is no need to molest an animal if there is not an audience, there is not consumers for these products. All of the energy that was being put into these complaints towards MFF themselves should now, in my opinion, be put towards legal protective services for animals. Because yes, they're not selling there anymore, but they are still making these products. So at the end of the day, this is again a situation that we as individuals can't do anything about. We can sit here and we can complain and we can be uncomfortable, but it's going to exist unless somebody with power becomes aware, investigates, and takes action. In conclusion, all I can really say is whether you're a furry or not, you care about animals. I know that you care about animals, and I know that it takes less than a minute to type up a tweet, post to TikTok, say, hey, this thing exists, report it. You yourself can put in a report, contact someone, call animal control, call, literally, I hate to say it, but call PETA. PETA does horrific things. PETA is a very questionable company, but they are a direct contact. They have direct power to investigate and take action against animal exploitation and abuse. So they suck, but you can reach out to them. They can potentially do something. They have connections, we do not. So use your voice, use your fingers, type something up, make a video. As genuine proof that your voice is worth something, that your actions and your reports can be successful, I would like to explain a situation from a couple of years ago where I saw a video on TikTok about a kiwi bird from New Zealand that had been flown over to America and was being shown in a zoo. The way that the animal was being treated, the way that it was being handled, the way that they were feeding the bird spaghetti, everything you could see in these videos was so incorrect when it comes to the best practice of handling and caring for a kiwi bird. As a vet nurse, I know best practice for caring for a bird, and I know the bare minimum for a kiwi is that they should be living in the dark. Immediately upon seeing these videos, I spoke out on TikTok. I made videos asking questions. I scoured the internet looking for direct contacts where I could report this and discuss it with somebody who had power. I went straight to the Department of Conservation, which is a service in New Zealand that cares for native birds and native animals. I put in a report there, and then I found multiple individuals on TikTok who had direct connections to DOC and also sent them this information as well. We made progress. This kiwi was saved. The zoo was contacted, the government was involved, there was legal action, and they were forced to create a healthy and safe environment for this kiwi. I'm going to add a couple of clips here. It was an insane process, and low-key, it felt great to know that just me speaking up, simply saying something, potentially saved the life of a little bird. New Zealanders, Floridians, anybody who cares about the welfare of animals, I need your help because I believe that there is a little brown kiwi that is being mistreated or potentially abused in Florida.
I don't even know what they're going to do. It's not going to be us running into.
Kept it in Miami Zoo could die within 6 months because of how it's being treated.
Hundreds of people have already signed a petition.
Yes, I do. They have every reason to be outraged. We are profoundly sorry. Immediately this morning, that entire encounter has been eliminated. There will be no access to the kiwi by the public in that manner any longer.
So don't be scared to just tweet, to send an email. Do something so that this information is shared wider and potentially police can get involved. In the same way that people generalize the LGBTQ community as being perverted and weird because of a few individuals, that's what's happening to the furry community as well. It doesn't make any sense. There's no reason to do it. The point of this video is that this vendor is exploiting and abusing animals. The animals are the victims of this situation. Furries are not the offenders. The furry community is not associated. The people who create, sell, distribute, describe, advertise these items are the problem. So if I see any comments whatsoever suggesting that furries are zoophiles, suggesting that furries are weird and disgusting, I'm gonna delete them. I don't care. There's no place for that here. There's no reason for that to be here. And I really hope that you at least take away from this video that furries are genuinely just normal people. Furries are lovely people. Furries are amazing people. With all that being said, I'm going to go to the church and douse myself with holy water. I hope you have an amazing weekend. Thank you for watching. I will be back in my own time. Mwah.